Hey babies, welcome to the channel's first ever vintage video with 8 casts. We're playing 8 casts because it got voted on in the poll that I put up since I'm not very familiar with the format and was flexible as to what I played. 8 cast has been a blast so far. I've played it in a couple of the play-in events already. It plays a ton of counterspells with 4 Force of Will, 4 Flusterstorm, and a Mental Misstep in the main deck, along with a couple more counters in the side. So there's a lot of interaction. It rips through the deck really quickly because we're playing 4 Thoughtcasts and 4 Thought Monitors, along with a bunch of artifacts to make them relatively cheap to cast. And we're also playing a Tinker combo, since we have so many artifacts. We have Bolas's Citadel and Sphinx of the Steel One to get with it. And we also have Manifold Key along with Time Vault, which we can either get with Tinker, or we can just find like Manifold Key with an Urza Saga Ultimate. And if we already have a Time Vault that we drew naturally, we can just take infinite turns that way. We're playing a relatively normal sideboard as far as just Hurkyl's Recalls, Dismembers, some graveyard stuff, and a KGC in the board. And Urza has been really impressive in this format to me. Of course, it's just like a good card like it is in normal formats, where it makes a creature that's relatively large, it gives you some extra mana, maybe you can get some card advantage by activating its 5 mana ability. But Urza being able to tap my artifacts for mana through either an opposing KGC or a Null Rod effect, like either actual Null Rod or Collector Oof, has been really, really useful. So that's been very impressive to me. And let's get into it. Alright, round 1, we lost the die roll. This hand doesn't have Force, but it has Urza Saga and Counterspell backup. So that's already pretty good. Our opponent didn't mulligan. They're gonna be going first anyway. I think I want to keep this, so I will. As long as we don't die on turn 1 here, since we don't have protection from that, we should be pretty much fine. I'm hoping to draw either a Mox Opal or Mox Sapphire, mostly, because I'd like to be able to play Urza Saga on 1, but also hold up Flusterstorm. We'll see how that goes for me. This deck's been a lot of fun so far. It has a lot of cards in it that I'm already sort of familiar with from playing in other formats, mostly Modern, because of Thought Monitor and Urza Saga and whatnot. Bazaar. Okay, our Flusterstorm is not gonna matter, most likely. Is it Dredge, or Vengevine, or what? We have a couple cantrips, those could be good. And in our sideboard we bring in Graveyard Hate and Pithing Needles for Bazaars. Oh, this is the Hogak deck. I haven't actually played against this yet. So that'll be interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have the black splash that would cause us to be playing Leyline of the Void in the sideboard, because Leyline is the optimal thing to have against Hogak, because just exiling their graveyard isn't always enough. Grafdigger's Cage is going to be pretty good still, or at least it should be. I hope. Is that it? Alright, we're not dead yet. I still don't think Flusterstorm does anything against them. Recall. Huh. I think I still want to play Saga on 1, but Recall is going to be very good. I probably shouldn't have played that first in case they play Mindbreak Trap. I'm not going to play Mana Crypt here. I think I'm just going to go Bobble Bobble Saga go. They could have Force of Vigor pretty easily in their deck. I think they probably play main deck Force of Vigors, if I had to guess. Play the other Bobble. Is it worth playing out Mox Emerald in case they have, like, a Grief or something? Probably not. Yeah, because I can just use Mana Crypt anyway. Okay, we'll just pass. I'm gonna go ahead and crack both of these in case I get a Force of Will or something. Hollow One's on top. What's in their hand? Urza's Bobble's a neat little trick. It's really nice sometimes if you see like a Force of Will or something against blue opponents. Urza's Bobble really shines late in the game when your opponent just has like 2 cards left in their hand. And you want to see if you can go off with a Tinker or something. Opponent might be considering playing a Force of Vigor here. I hope they don't have Force of Vigor. We can at least sort of restock with Ancestral Recall, but we will still be losing a decent amount of our game plan if they just snap get rid of Saga. But I think they would have done that in response to the Saga trigger if they were going to do that. Maybe they didn't want to because the only artifacts we had were baubles. Maybe they've just gone AFK. We'll see. Force of Vigor is in their hand. God damn it. Alright. If they let me play Seed of the Synod before they play that, because they're being greedy, or because they don't have a green card in their hand yet. Force of Will. Okay, now we have protection from Force of Vigor. That is why we popped those baubles. Sometimes it's right to leave them in play if you have like Urza or a Thought Monitor or something that you want to play, but digging for Force of Will is essential there. And a very nice thing that we did. So we have Force of Will back up. We can play Seed of the Synod, Mana Crypt, Emerald, hold up Flusterstorm, and probably just use it to play Ancestral Recall instead. Flusterstorm at least does something. I was worried that it did absolutely nothing. Okay, there's a Wasteland. That's why they didn't do that. Okay. Bloodghasts come back. I'll float a mana, but I can't do anything about a Wasteland activation. I hope I get to Flusterstorm their Force of Vigor instead of using Force of Will on it. Because I'm like 90% sure that this is, because of Stitcher Supplier, a Hogak deck. And I would like it just ever so slightly harder for them to have a Hogak in play, if I can help it at all. Opponent is thinking about their own Wasteland. Sweet. My DoorDash is going to be here soon, it looks like. Since I wanted to record this, but I was hungry, I decided to order some Jersey mics. Not sponsored, but I definitely would take it if for some reason they wanted to. Alright. Well, you have a lot of things and I have nothing, but I'm going to see if I can do anything about that. I would love to draw a blue Moxen still, because I want to be able to recall and or Thoughtcast while also holding up Flusterstorm. Opponent pauses. My opponent just has stops on everything, it looks like. My god. Manifold Key. Okay, that actually does give me more blue mana, because I can untap Seed of the Synod with it. So that works. They know that we know that they have Force of Vigor. So I wonder how that changes how they're going to play this. I think realistically I just recall myself here. But I think I want a Manifold Key to untap first. I think there's a decent chance this is where they Vigor. Having Manifold Key already is nice too, because that means we just need to find Time Vault. Uwat entered the exile zone, so we're gonna tell this Force of Vigor to fuck off with a bunch of Flusterstorms. And we're gonna hope for some nice things off of our Ancestral and Thought casts. If I get really lucky, I could find... I think Tinker into Sphinx would be probably the optimal way for me to win this matchup if I'm not taking Infinite Turns. And Infinite Turns isn't great because I have Mana Crypt, so I need to Tinker that away. Getting Sphinx would be really nice because it has First Strike and Lifelink, so it's hard for them to get damage through. And then whenever they're not getting damage through, it has Vigilance and Flying, so I can keep beating in. It's really funny to me that Sphinx of the Steel Wind is like a premier threat in Vintage. It seems really weird. Well, that's some action. Let's go Thought casts, I think. Yeah, we have Flusterstorm to pitch now. Let's play Mox Opal, keep the new one. Play Emery. What do we see off of Emery? We found Sphinx of the Steel Wind. We 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We can almost play that because of getting our Mox Opal back from the graveyard. Interesting. Alright. Also, our Time Walk got milled, which isn't great, but such is life. And this Flusterstorm is just going to be Force of Will fodder, most likely, since we don't have blue up anyway. This is 8 mana. I have Mox Opal, Mox Ruby, Bobble Bobble in the yard. 1, 2... Wait, no, Manifold Key is an extra mana, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? So I can't... No, I can't get... What am I thinking? I can't get Opal back and also get Sphinx back, so I need to find another source of white or black mana. Okay. So as it stands, we might be a little bit too slow. Opponent Bazaars, plays a Root Walla, does not have a Vengevine in the yard still, so that's nice. I'm not going to force the Root Walla, it's not really worth it at this point. They don't have red mana, so I get to go right here. Take a bunch of damage, but kill a Root Walla. Because I'm not going to get rid of my Emery anyway. It's basically what I have going on right now. Right, heads. Yay! Flusterstorm, not what I wanted. So I can play Urza's Saga. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. I can... What? Do I just use Emery to get a Mishra's Bauble? I don't get to block if I do that, and my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. Could be 11 if they have a red land. But I guess I just kind of gotta hope that they don't have that. Yeah, I guess I gotta hope they don't have that. I could die to Mana Crypt if I strike out here, unfortunately. So we'll see if that happens, I guess. I'm going to count one more time to make sure I can't play Sphinx of the Steel Wind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not quite. Do I need to use Emery to block? If I use Emery to block, I take 4, 5. Hollow One gets chumped. I would go down to 6. I would make an Urza Saga token. Maybe I do need to just do that. It seems a little goofy. Four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I really don't want to lose to Mana Crypt. I've been flipping really badly. So I think I have to wait on that, unfortunately. Unfortunately. DoorDash is approaching even faster now. Soon. Alright, so what is the dream top deck? Probably just Tinker, right? Gets rid of Mana Crypt, gets me Time Vault, I take infinite turns and win. Yeah, it's gotta be just Tinker. I mean, yeah, I guess Tinker is just kind of the dream top deck most of the time in Vintage, now that I think about it. At least with this deck. Do they have a way to kill me? I wonder. Probably not, I hope. I wish I didn't have to chump block with Emery here. All right, opponent Bazaars. They get rid of what? A Basking Rootwalla in a land. Okay. Oh, they had 2 Basking Rootwallas. Okay. So I definitely need something to happen, and I need it to happen now. Damn, they remembered to attack. Alright. Alright, come on. Tinker. Tinker, please. I would love to have a Tinker. Yeah, I lost the flip, so that was right, and I did not find a Tinker. So I'm dead. Alright. Well, at least we have sideboard stuff for this. We did not see any Hogaaks. So I'm not certain that that's actually what they're playing. Although they are playing lands and Citrus Supplier, so it's not the normal Bazaar deck that just has Wasteland and Strip Mines. I think for the most part I sideboard the same anyway. So I bring those in, I cut Flusters, I cut Misstep, I cut Probe probably. Alright, my stuff is dropped off. Yeah, I probably cut Probe. I don't think I care that much about what's in their hand. And I'll cut the Fluster. Keep in Force of Wills because they do have Force of Vigor, but it's harder to Flusterstorm that. Maybe it's right to keep it in. Narset and Hullbreacher are nice. Tinker, of course, stays in. Emery's... I don't know about Emery. Emery's really good with Soul Guide Lantern. It's a non-bow with Grafdigger's Cage, but it's more likely that I have Lanterns than Cage, so I think I keep it in. And I think I'm just going to run it like that. There's sort of an argument for Dismember too, in case they just get Hollow One online, but I think I want to risk that. And I'm going to run real quick and get my sandwich. Alright, sandwich acquired, and I'm back. I will take the play, of course. We have a Mox Chat and a whole bunch of nothing. Let's mulligan. We don't have interaction, but we have a lot of draw, and we have early mana. If they have Force of Vigor, we basically just lose. I don't think going to 5 is right, though, so let's keep it. Going to 5, it's a lot harder to have the combination of reasonable interaction and also a decent engine. And here, I think I just want to get rid of a Thought Monitor. Because if they force to get rid of my blue, I'm going to want to kill myself, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I play Thought Monitor on one with this hand. That's not that bad. Gonna play the land last so they don't get the opportunity to Force of Vigor before I cast Thought Monitor. Because otherwise they could take me off of Affinity for it. Does it resolve? Please. I need the cards. Let me have them. Once Upon a Time. Okay. That could turn into a Force of Vigor or some other kind of spell. We'll see, I guess. What do they get with it? Once Upon a Time, it's hilarious that he's playing Vintage. That card... Like, I feel like people mostly talk about just Oko and Adventures nowadays when they talk about how busted Throne was. But Once Upon a Time, holy shit. Yep, there's Force of Vigor. Okay, I'm glad I kept the island. I have all of 2 artifacts in play. That makes me less glad that I kept the island, but okay. What did they get rid of? They got rid of another Once Upon a Time. Alright. Makes sense. The second Once Upon a Time is much less good than the first one. Opponent has a Bazaar. What are they going to do with it? Double Root Walla, no Vengevine. Okay. Thought Monitor Stonewalls these Root Wallas pretty well if they don't have red mana. Hollow one. Okay, that breaks through a Thought Monitor pretty easy. 2 cards in my opponent's hand. Canner. Ooh, shit. Pithing Needle, okay. I'm definitely turning off Bazaar. And it's unlikely that they have another Force, at least if this resolves. They might be thinking about it, though. They do have another Force, okay. It's a pain in the ass, but that means that we're both basically doing nothing for a little while. I'm going to be taking 4 for a few turns, but I might be able to get out of it with Thoughtcast. Because my opponent does not have any resources other than what they already have in play. I'm not going to win by attacking in with this Thought Monitor, so I'm not going to. They found a Badlands, damn it. I can't trade the Thought Monitor right now because I need it for Affinity. So I'm going to be taking more damage now because of that red source. Hopefully I can get out of this in time. Thought Monitor, that's not what I need. Opponent draws. Hits us again. Yep. We drop Mox Opal. Can we do anything with that? We can try. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Can't play Thought Monitor yet, so I'm just going to play Thoughtcast instead. Good things, please? Not good things. Yeah, I think we're dead now. Unfortunate. Alright. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, we won the die roll for round 2. And we have a pretty good hand, which is nice considering my sloppy performance from the last one. We have Citadel in our hand, so it's kind of like a mulligan to 6, but we have Mox, Time Vault, and we have Urza Saga, which can get us Manifold Key. We don't have Interaction, but we can combo off pretty fast, so I think it's worth keeping. Since we're on the play anyway, it's kind of like we're the beatdown. It'll depend on what we're playing against, of course, but like we might need a counterspell to force through Mana Vault if they're playing a counterspell deck or something. But we will see, we will see. Opponent mulligans to 6. Mulligans to 5 pretty fast. If I get dredged again... mulligans to 4. Alright, it looks like probably a Bazaar deck. Which could mean a lot of things, I guess. But it definitely means that I want to run this out in case they have, like, grief or some shit. Yeah, they didn't have a stop on either, so they don't have, like, forces. Yeah, there's a Bazaar. Right. Will they have appropriate interaction is the question. Hey, it's the Hogak deck that I thought I was playing against earlier. Opponent gets a couple boys, has a Hogak in their graveyard, played a Once Upon a Time to get a Basking Root Walla. It looked like they were trying to get a hollow one with that, but they got this. They found a hollow one anyway. Alright. Okay, so don't have a Force of Vigor, please. Just spend another turn not having a force. Do they have one now? They're stopped in my upkeep. They might just have an upkeep stop anyway, but okay, they didn't have it, and we have Flusterstorm back up now. Okay. So now we should have it, unless we somehow manage to die right this second. But we go ahead and play out Vault, because I'm not going to kill them with blockers anyway, or with the attackers right now. Bazaar, yep, they're going to have 2 cards in hand. They cast a Root Walla. They could get Vengevine back if they have another creature to play. They play a Bazaar, they get back a Bloodghast. Okay. They activated it. Okay. We are not taking lethal, that's what mattered. And thank God for that. Yep. Opponent plays a Gak. Looks like a Gak to me. Gets a Vengevine with the Gak. They should have played Hogak main phase 1 then. Weird. They could have hit us for an extra 4. But alas, they don't have any cards in hand and it doesn't matter. No, I would hate to skip my turn to untap Time Vault. And I'm going to go ahead and make a boy. Along with getting the Manifold Key. They have a stop in my upkeep again. Yep. Found a Time Walk. That doesn't particularly matter. Yep. Get Manifold Key. And if they don't scoop here, we're just going to keep developing. Okay, they conceded. Hooray! Good old Hogak. Can't believe I paired into this deck twice in a row. Okay. Let's bring in all the graveyardy stuff and the Pithing Needles. And I think nothing else. And I think I still like the same plan that I had last time. Mental Misstep doesn't do anything. Flusterstorm mostly doesn't. Well, Flusterstorm does hit Force of Vigor, so maybe that's where I went wrong last time. Maybe I need to take out more of the grindy stuff instead. So I keep in Flusters. What do I take out? I take out, like, Thought Monitors? Thoughtcasts, maybe? I can cut 2 Monitors, a Mishra's Bauble, a second Mishra's Bauble, and I kind of like Monitor because it can chump block, so 1 Thoughtcast. I think that's fine. We'll try it like that. We'll see if it makes a difference. Well, actually, I could cut Gitaxian Probe instead of Thoughtcast. They're gonna... Okay. Bring Thoughtcast back. Cut Git Probe. Or Gitaxian Probe, or whatever you want to call it. The reason for cutting Probe is, A, it's mostly for counterspelling matchups, which they could have, like, Mindbreak Trap, but Git Probe isn't really where you want to be against Mindbreak Trap from what I can tell, because it gives you up a storm count, so you kind of just play into it anyway if you do that. And their hand changes really rapidly because of the Bazaar, so we can know what they have in hand 1 turn and then it'll be completely different the next turn, so it doesn't really do much for us. Let's see if we can win on the draw here. That would be nice. Any Vintage experts that are watching, I would love to know what the matchups are supposed to be for 8-cast decks, because I feel like they've been mostly even for a lot of different matchups. Like some wins and some losses, but not anything insane one way or the other. We have Sapphire Flusterstorm, Mox Opal, Seat, Urza's Saga, and a Recall? This seems pretty good. I'm not sure if I play Saga on 1 or not. I think I'm gonna keep this hand for sure. Playing Saga on 1 means I don't get to use Recall if I want to hold up Flusterstorm for Force of Vigor. But it also means I get to the hate cards and or the combo cards faster. So it's probably worth it. I would love to just be able to find the Vault Key combo pretty quickly against them again. Because I feel like that's the easiest way to win in this matchup. Yeah, and I gotta keep in mind that I have less thought monitors than I'm used to. Other than that, it's pretty much fine. Is it correct to bring in Dismember against hollow ones? I don't think it is. It feels like Dismember is mostly for like Ragavans and Collector Oof. And maybe some of the disruptive creatures out of mud. Whoa! They discard 2 Force of Vigors, so they definitely have at least 1 left in hand. They might have 2. That's kind of insane. What is their hand if they're discarding Force of Vigors? That's scary. So they're discarding Force of Vigors, but they don't have a Hollow One or a Vengevine to play. That's really bizarre. They've got to have another Force, right? It's got to be what that means. I wonder. Alright, if they let us draw a card, that'd be great. Because they've already passed the tar turn, so we know we're going to. I hope. I don't think they can. I don't think there's a combination of 5 cards that can combo off at instant speed for 0 mana, and they might also be playing. But it is vintage, so you don't really ever know, I guess. So I just saw the announcement about the 30th anniversary event in Vegas. What do you guys think of that? Ooh, Force of Will, okay. I think I want to lead on Sapphire still, and I think I do want to play Saga. I don't think I need to play Opal yet. I don't really think that they would have any stacksy things that would make me wish that I had played it first. See, I think that's fine. They don't play a Force. That's really weird. What does our opponent have? Opponent grabs a Bayou. Plays a Deathrite Shaman. That's okay. Have they turned into a fair deck suddenly? Why did they discard 2 Force of Vigors? That is blowing my mind still. They discard 2 Root Wallows, okay. I'm just going to recall myself at end of turn, since it doesn't look like I'm going to need to Flusterstorm anything. And I'll still have Force up. Jesus Christ, alright. Saga ticks up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Jesus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Definitely casting an Opal here. There's not really that much of a reason to cast a Thought Cast because I'm going to be... Well, I guess I have free cards. So there's not much of a reason not to cast a Thought Cast. I think I want to play Seat to get my affinity count up. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it worth holding up Flusterstorm? Probably not, since I have double Force of Will. Yeah, and that made it worth it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think my life total is really in danger here, so I'm just going to go ahead and run these out instead of waiting on the Mana Crypt, because my opponent has done basically nothing so far. We found a hand that would be really good against a deck where playing tempo is good, but I just don't think that's where we are usually against a Vengevine deck. So I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Opponent discards Black Lotus, Chalice of the Void. They have 2 cards in hand, they have a Wasteland. They Wasteland Seat of the Synod. My opponent's decisions are really freaking me out this game. Opponent makes a mana with Deathrite Shaman. They have 2 cards in hand. They play an Alpine Moon. No? Do I keep Force or Flusterstorm? I think I want Thoughtcast in my hand. So I think I'd rather have Force still. Flusterstorm's a bit more niche. I really don't understand the discard Force of Vigor play. Like, my best explanation in my head is they discarded them by accident somehow. Right? I feel like I just can't get over that. I have a ton of mana, so I'm in a decent spot. I can activate Urza's Saga, and I can hardcast Force of Will if I need to. While also searching something with Urza's Saga. Hilariously, this would be a spot where if I were playing Modern, I'd probably want to get Soul Guide, not Soul Guide Lantern, Shadow Spear. But I probably just want to get either Graveyard Hate or Needle for Bazaar. Probably Needle for Bazaar. Since they don't have anything going on yet. Like, they have Bloodghast, but who cares? And I have a million Urza's Sagas. So I can just get Hate later. If I draw a blue card, I'm definitely playing Thoughtcast, unless that blue card is more imperative to play than Thoughtcast. Otherwise, I might hold Force of Will up. Because if I tap to play Thoughtcast, unless I draw a blue spell, I can't play Force of Will. Where I could hardcast Force of Will and then play Thoughtcast the next turn. I wonder if my opponent's like double queued or something. Alright, they're attacking in with Root Wallas. For some reason. Alright. I will block one. They can't pump the Root Wallas. What do they have in hand? Anything at all? No. That kind of makes me think they have a Hogak in hand. Damn. We draw Force of Will. I don't really care about Hogak since I have all these forces, and now since I have double Force of Will, I can play Thoughtcast. So let's Needle Bazaar first. Let's Thoughtcast. Emery, Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Play Emery. We see Manifold Key, Sensei's Divining Top. Okay. Decent things to pick up. We're at 13. I think I can afford to get in for 7 here. I need to make sure that I pressure them fast enough that my Mana Crypt doesn't kill me. I'm also only 1 color away from just casting Sphinx of the Steel Wind. So I could do that. Opponent's going to have 2 cards in hand. Let's see if they can do anything with that. Opponent plays a Wasteland. Targets are Urza's Saga. Makes sense. We got more where that came from though. Our mana goes away. Do they attack? I'd like to get rid of this Mana Crypt so I stop taking extra damage because I'm very, very bad at Mana Crypt flips for whatever reason. I'm just not attuned with the random number generator of Magic Online, it seems. Opponent didn't attack at all. That's a good sign. Alright, I won the flip. Maybe I can stop complaining now. Opponent has one card in hand. We have an Urza's Bauble, so we're going to take a peek in a second, but I think I'm going to attack in first. Probably just with one construct. I can play Thought Monitor. That's interesting. I think I'm going to do that. Fill up the board a bit more, get some more stuff in hand, maybe get closer to another color for Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Please. Oh, they're going to eat it. I'm a dumbass. Shit. Okay. Makes sense, I guess. Attacking for 8. Eats a Root Walla. Bobble you. Besage you. We cannot counter Besage you, but we can play another Urza's Saga to distract them. What do we draw? Thought Monitor. Haha, we have one anyway. Just a little bit later. Okay. Opponent concedes. Thank God. 2 losses right off the back to Bazaar decks would have made me very sad. But maybe I can do something with this run, after all. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, round 3, we lost the die roll. This hand has a lot of affinity cards and only one artifact, so let's mulligan. We've got more action here. We don't have an actual direction to go in, but we have a cantrip, or a slow trip, I suppose. Some rocks. A Force of Will if we need to protect ourselves before we get a turn, and Flusterstorm also, which could be useful. We definitely want to draw some action, but I think this hand is pretty solid, so let's keep. And I think I just want to get rid of one of the Moxen. I like having Opal for blue-blue, so I think I just get rid of Emerald here. It doesn't really matter between Emerald and Ruby, but we can pretend like Ruby matters, maybe. Opponent plays a basic island. Plays a Black Lotus. Alright, it does not look like we're playing a third Bazaar deck at least, so that's nice. Monastery Mentor. I think I need to force that. If they have a force, that's fine. That at least gets spells out of their hand, so their monastery is worse. But I think turn 1 Monastery Mentor is just a bit too crazy of a clock. Alright, they have Flusterstorm for it. That's fine. So it looks like this is a Paradoxical Outcome deck that we're playing against, because I think they're the only ones that play Mentor, although I think like some old school Jeskai Xerox decks played it, but I don't think that sees any play anymore. Alright, Mentor comes down. Do they have any zeros? They do. Opponent probes us. Okay, they get a dude. Okay. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. We would love to draw something to dig us further. Opponent plays Mox Opal. Definitely Paradoxical Outcome. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. They pass. We draw Thoughtcast. Perfect. That didn't do anything. Let's look at their top deck. We see Misty Rainforest. Okay. And we'll pass. We wound up hitting another land and another Mox Opal, which isn't great. Hitting double Mox Opal is maybe the argument for keeping Mox Emerald instead, since they're legendary. Opponent fetches. They use their Misty. Do they have anything else to play this turn? I assume they do? Hopefully we can get a nice top deck again. Lavinia. Alright. That's annoying. Maybe it isn't a PO deck then? Although, I don't know. Urza. This only says non-creature, right? Ha 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 ha. Alright, perfect. Urza can actually do something. The Urza activation isn't going to do anything until we get Lavinia off the board one way or another, but we at least have a blocker now, or two. Sweet. Thought Monitor. Costs 3 currently. Another Urza and Urza's Saga. Alright, I think we have stabilized. Our opponent has to find something to deal with Urza's Saga, otherwise we're probably going to get to win the fair way by just making incrementally larger constructs and eventually killing them with it. Sensei's Defining Top, okay. Let's go ahead and play that to grow our construct. And I think I'm going to attack in with both of these. Start pressuring them before they find something to combo kill us with if they have something. Let's go ahead and spin top. See if there's anything I want right now. Hull Breacher could be good. I think I want to leave Hull Breacher on top and go like, I don't want Opal. I probably want Thought Monitor, and I will probably want Hull Breacher if they go for like a Brainstorm or something. That would be worth losing a construct for. Mystical Tutor, okay. I could also see that I could see them going for Recall here, I think is probably what they tutor for. They could also get like Time Walk. I guess we'll see. Recall, sweet. The 8-cast decks do not usually play Hull Breacher, so we're going to get to surprise them with this. Yield. Oh my god. I have to yield all to each token? Okay. Draw a card. Do they have a counterspell? They do not. Haha. Hilarious. We get a bunch of treasures. I shouldn't have tapped like that. I should have left Urza Saga on tap. That was a misplay. I forgot I would be able to make a construct anyway with the treasure tokens. Definitely should have tapped Mox Opal instead, but it is what it is at this point. I'm going to be taking 4 here. I don't want Hull Breacher to go away, but I will block with Urza since I have a second one in case they get big anyway. Okay. We draw Sensei's Defining Top. We make a construct. We search. Getting... what? Manifold Key? Yeah, Manifold Key because it makes my construct unblockable. Sweet. And they probably don't have removal because of the kind of deck they are. I'm going to tap my treasure for a blue. Make a top. Hooray, my misplay didn't matter. Alright. We didn't actually see if they're playing a Paradoxical Outcome deck, although I suspect they are, and they just have like Mentor and 1 or 2 copies of Lavinia as the creatures they play. I don't think the other decks that I've seen with Lavinia would play Mox Opal is the reason. So let's see. We want Disputes. And Lavinia is annoying enough that I think I want Dismembers, even though there's probably only a couple copies. And I probably want Karn because they're a Mox Opal deck. I don't think I care that much about this other stuff yet. And I think I cut what? Hullbreacher was great. Narset's going to be great. Tinker's great, of course. I guarantee you they're playing Flusterstorm, so let's go down a couple Thought Casts. Let's go down both the Mishra's Baubles and maybe one Thought Monitor, because they could also be a Hullbreacher deck pretty easily. I think that looks fine to me. Oh, we go down Sphinx of the Steel Wind. What am I thinking about? Alright. Yeah, Sphinx is an easy takeout because we're probably not gonna be in that much of a damage-based race. And it doesn't look like they're playing the colors that Sphinx is relevant against, or has protection against, I guess, would be the better way of saying that. We definitely want Citadel so that we can have a value engine to get with Tinker. Yeah, I think I'm fine with how I sideboarded there. I really like playing the blue mirrors in Vintage. The other decks, of course, are interesting to play against too, but the blue mirrors in particular are nice. I've always enjoyed games where the stack gets really big. And, like, for instance, I've seen games in Vintage already, even though I've only been playing it for less than a day. I've seen games where the stack has been 10 spells plus if you count Flusterstorm triggers. Alright, we have double counterspell, Tinker, Seat, Mox, Urza Saga. This hand seems busted. Let's keep it. We don't have protection from them comboing off on their turn, but we have such a good hand other than that that I think it's worth it. And they mulligan to 6, so I don't think they're gonna, like, auto-kill me, I hope. Opponent plays Misty and cracks it. Getting Tundra. Makes sense. Plays a Mox Jet. Plays what? Opponent taps blue and a black. Plays Time Walk. Okay. Opponent passes. They have cast their Explore. Mox Opal. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. They repeal their Mox Opal. They don't have a third artifact yet, so Mox Opal isn't producing mana. 3 cards still in their hand, and they pass. They did not find a land. Their hand sucks. Sweet. We drew Bolus's Citadel. Definitely not what we want. It looks like, especially because of that, our plan is going to be Urza Saga gets Key, Tinker gets Vault. So let's lead on Sapphire. And I think I just run out the Urza Saga. And I want them to think that I'm just trying to play like a tempo game with Saga, but I'm actually playing a combo game where I'm going to try to get Tinker with counter backup for it. Opponent plays Demonic Tutor. Do I just fluster that? I think I do, because I want to use my mana next turn for activating Saga. Yeah, let's fluster that. And if, yeah, they can't force that, so they're not going to get to Demonic Tutor. Yeah, I think that was correct. We draw Hullbreacher. That's fantastic. We already have a plan of what we're going to do this turn, so it doesn't matter all that much. So let's play Seat, pass. We have Mystic Dispute up. We can also Hullbreacher or make a construct, depending on what the situation calls for. Their Mox Opal is still not online yet. They play Soul Ring. That would turn it on. I think I'm okay with that, though. They have 3 cards in hand. What I need to do is interact in such a way that they would play Force. So I think that probably means end of turn flashing in Hull Breacher. Although that would leave me with less options afterward. If they have double counterspell, Hull Breacher is worse. But they need triple counterspell to fight through the Tinker plan. So let's just go for Hull Breacher, see if it works. It's basically a glorified Duress. If it comes down, that's great. If it doesn't, that's also great. We want it to where they can't Flusterstorm or Tinker, so them tapping out here for a Paradoxical outcome would be fantastic. Okay. Yeah, if they... So they PO'd in response. If they force now, that means they're down at least 1 force in hand. Okay. I'm more than okay with that. And we are all in on this plan. So they have to have not 2 other forces, rather. So tap for a mana. We get Manifold Key. We play an island. We tinker away Sapphire. With Mystic Dispute back up. You have another force? They did not have another force. Alright, we got it. Sweet. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Alright, round 4, we won the die roll. Good start, and we have a disappearing land and no fast mana. We have forces, we have flusters, we can't cast the flusters, so it's a mulligan. Huh. The mana in this hand is fragile. We would bottom Bolus's Citadel. We have Emerald Opal Sensei's Divining Top with Flusterstorm backup. I think that's fine. I don't want to go to 5, so I do think I'm going to risk it here. It's possible we get blown out by, like, a Force of Vigor or something. But I think I just have to accept that at this point. We can go bottom U, play Emerald, play Opal, play top, hold up Fluster. And then if they don't do anything we need to Flusterstorm, we can spin with top and try to find more mana. I think that's reasonable. 3 artifacts in play also makes Monitor a lot more reasonable to get to sort of quickly. That is if we find mana again, of course. If we find Seat of the Synod, I think that's the... well, not the ideal. Seat of the Synod would get us to Thought Monitor, but we'd rather get, like, Mana Crypt or something, so that... actually, no, we wouldn't be able to hold up Flusterstorm and then also do that anyway. So I guess we'll see what we get. I guess drawing, like, Seat of the Synod, casting Thought Monitor on turn 2, and then drawing into either another Mox Opal or another source of blue mana for Flusterstorm is what we want. We're just drawing a Force of Will. Our opponent seems to be AFK, so I've had a lot of time to think about this hand. So it's going to be funny when I wind up losing immediately to a Force of Vigor or something anyway, after all this deliberation. But I guess I'll just have to live with that. I like that this deck can recover relatively quickly from mulligans because of all the Thoughtcast effects. That's something that I like a lot about Modern Affinity too. Being able to grind out card advantage relatively quickly. And also snowball them together if you like draw one off of another one. Holy shit, my opponent. I mean, I guess we did start the round early. because these vintage rounds go significantly faster than normal most of the time. I think I've only seen it go to time like once. And this is the 4th event that I've played in. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this format. I think I'm gonna try to keep vintage in my wheelhouse after the events end. At least to kind of keep up with the format. I don't know if I'd be playing it more than modern, but probably not. Because, of course, that is where the viewership is. And I can't play cranial platings in vintage with a straight face. Alright. My opponent is taking forever to get to the computer, so I'm going to cut to whenever they show up. Alright, my opponent has shown up and mulliganed to 6. I am going to keep this against probably my better judgment. Get rid of Citadel so we can tinker into it later, maybe. See if my opponent takes 5 minutes to mulligan again. And I think the correct sequence to do this in is Emerald, top, Opal, because that way if they have Force of Vigor, I can at least pop top in response, where if I go Emerald, Opal, they could Force of Vigor in response to top. And then I don't have either of these. Of course, that all falls apart if they just, like, force my first one. Hooray! Alright. We're off to the races. Let's see what our opponent's playing. They mulligan to 6. They play Underground Sea as their land for turn. They play Portent. That means Doomsday, I want to say. I'm pretty sure that's Doomsday. I don't think anybody else would play a slow trip. Activate top. Come on, mana. Yes, mana. Alright. We don't want Opal. We do want Sagas. Opponent draws off of Portent. We play Saga. We... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cannot play Thought Monitor yet. Let's spin top. Flusterstorm, Opal, Saga. Opal to the bottom. We already have a Flusterstorm, so... And we can only cast one anyway, so Flusterstorm on top of that, Saga on the top. Seems reasonable. And hopefully double Flusterstorm can win us the game against Doomsday, if that is indeed what they're playing. I think it should, because Flusterstorm's really good at picking apart spell-based combos. Opponent knows about the Fluster now. They don't know about the second one on our top, though. So they're going to be able to play around one of them. Flooded Strand cracks down to 17. Underground Sea, makes sense. And passes? No. Okay, they do pass. Sweet. We draw a Saga. We play a Saga. And we pass. So something I just now thought about how this deck operates that is really interesting to me. When you're playing a tempo-style game, opponent plays Mystical Tutor. Okay. When you're playing a tempo-style game, you get to use all of your counterspells on just stopping your opponent's board, because your opponent can't counter your Saga tokens. So you don't have to play the role of both protecting your plan A and stopping your opponent. You can just go full, basically control for what this format would consider control, I guess, even though you can still win on like turn 1 and 2 sometimes. And then of course when you're playing, opponent finds Brainstorm. Okay. That's a cool brainstorm. I haven't seen that before, I don't think. Cat brainstorm. It kind of looks like who is that like English artist from, I want to say either early 1900s or late 1800s that progressively got schizophrenia and kept drawing cats throughout it, and they kept getting weirder and weirder. That's exactly what this cat looks like to me. I don't know why I know about that. It's just one of the semi-useless things in my noggin, I suppose. Alright, so opponent knows my hand currently. I'm going to keep holding up Flusterstorm. I was thinking about if I want to spin top on my upkeep or not. I don't think I do. Because I think they might make me fluster here. Recall. One, two. I think I'm fine with that. I think I'd rather have double Flusterstorm and just get another blue source off of Urza's Saga. So I tap here. I can use the mana here. Am I doing that right? I think so. Yeah, because I can use the floating mana to spin, and then I can hold up either double Flusterstorm or Flusterstorm in a construct. I think that's fine. I'd like to spin to have a Force of Will on top, so if I need it, I can have that as well. So I think we just go Sapphire. Resolves. Spin. Emery Mana Crypt Thoughtcast. I don't think I want to play a blue spell this turn. I think I want to hold up Flusterstorm. But I do kind of want Mana Crypt. Because Mana Crypt means I can hold up double Flusterstorm and make a construct. Yeah, I think that's correct. Cast Crypt. Go to combat. Attack for 5. I'm going to go ahead and make another construct to bump it up a little bit, in case it becomes relevant. Because I'm not going to use that mana for anything else this turn anyway, since I only have blue pips, essentially. Opponent has already used their Gitaxian Probe, so once I Flusterstorm, they won't know about the other one unless they have like a Thoughtseize. Dig through time. Okay. I think I only want to spend my counter spells on Doomsday. Because they can't force Flusterstorm, they have to be able to Thoughtseize into it or Duress into it. Plays Misty. Cracks. They gotta do something now, we have lethal on board. Thinks it over. Man, Flusterstorm is really an incredible magic card against spell-based combo. It makes me kind of wish that Modern had more degenerate spell-based combos in it. Just so I could actually use Flusterstorm for something other than just, like, spell piercing through. Okay, opponent goes for Doomsday. So they can actually Doomsday twice is the issue. They would have to either pay for it or just go for another one, though. It's possible that they have Dark Rid into another Doomsday. They've already used their Lotus, though, so they don't have that for the Doomsday pile, at least. They might not be able to go off if they use all their mana. Because they already played a land for turn, right? Yeah, they played Misty and cracked it for an Underground Sea, and then they played their Black Lotus this turn. So they knew about the Flusterstorm, so surely they have an answer to that, right? They didn't just think I would forget about it? They could have their own Flusterstorm, maybe? They could also pay for Flusterstorm with Dark Rids. But that makes the other Flusterstorm larger, so it probably still doesn't work. We will see. Opponent having to think it over is certainly a good sign for us. This is actually the first time that I've played against Doomsday, but I was just very aware of it. Does it resolve? They paid for it. They Flusterstorm. How do they target? Okay, they did 2 and 2, right? These are mine. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so no reason to pay. Alright, so if they have Dark Rid into another Doomsday, they might still be able to go off, but we'll just have to see. Second Flusterstorm, will it get there? Got there. Okay. Do they have Dark Rit second Doomsday? They definitely could. They've seen a shit ton of cards over the last turn between Dig Through Time and Recall. On a cycle, Street Wraith. Looks like they don't have it yet. Otherwise they probably would have used Street Wraith to go off. Preordain? Okay. And Preordain. That's no mana, and you already used your Lotus. I think that's it. Most likely, at least. I hope. I guess they could go like Mox Jet. Okay. Well, thank God. Let's bring in Dispute, and is that it? I think Karn might be good because it turns off their Lotus, and that's part of their combo. Dismember doesn't matter. Soul Guide Lantern probably doesn't matter, even though it kind of disrupts Dig Through Time. I don't think that matters enough. Craft Digger's Cage doesn't matter. Needle on Street Wraith probably still isn't worth it too. I think, honestly, our main deck is kind of built to win against Doomsday already. Alright, we saw Flusters, so we know that they can deal with our Thought Cast a bit easier than our Thought Monitor, most likely. We don't want Sphinx of the Steel Wind. Get that trash out of here. We just need to take out one more card. We take out what? Getting a Narset or a Hull Breacher against them would be fantastic. We might want Needle against Necropotence, actually. Let's bring in Karn. Let's cut maybe Urza? They're not going to be going wide. So I think we can cut at least one Urza, because we don't really need the creature. Do we cut both the Urzas? That doesn't feel right. I think I cut a Bauble and a second Bauble, and I bring in Needle, so I have Needle off of Saga as a possibility, in case they get Necro into play. And then I can Karn for the other Needle if I need to. I think I like that plan. Mishra's Bauble could still be useful, the information could be useful, is why I'm not completely sure about that. But it is sort of just a do-nothing card other than that. Alright. Saga Opal. We have interaction. We don't have mana to play any of it, so we got a mulligan. Ugh. We can't cast any of this again, because we have double Opal. We don't have other mana sources, so let's mulligan again. Okay. I see you. This is a really strong 5. I think I keep this, and I think I just go keep these, try to Emery and Time Walk on one. I don't have any interaction, but I'm not going to 4 for interaction, that's insane. But I can go Emery and basically haste it up with a Time Walk. That might make up for my otherwise mediocre hand. Hopefully I'm not dead on one. I definitely could be since it's Doomsday. But they mulliganed to 5, so I'm probably not, I hope. Underground Sea, Ponder. That is not a Dark Red into Doomsday yet. I mean, we have a lot of power in this hand for a 5, so I think we might be able to do something with it. An opponent mulliganed to 5/2 and didn't play any Moxen. Flusterstorm. So now we can play Emery with Counterspell backup. That's fantastic. That actually just made this hand significantly more broken, since Flusterstorm's one of the better cards against them too. What do we hit off of Emery? Mana Crypt, Thought Monitor, Thought Monitor, Thought Casts. So Thought Monitor costs 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not quite. We can play Mana Crypt though. Let's go ahead and take the extra turn. If we hit like a Seed of the Sun on, we could play Thought Monitor. If not, I'll be fine just playing Mana Crypt. And either way, we have this Flusterstorm. Hull Breacher. They didn't have a force for any of that, so I'm going to go ahead and put Hull Breacher into play, I think. And I'll just pass. I think my opponent's fucked. I'm pretty sure that that should be enough power to kill my opponent. I hope. Opponent plays a Misty, cracks it down to 18. Gets an Underground Sea, plays a Mox Jet. They do have a piece of power. They have a second piece of power. They have Doomsday. Fuck no. If they have their own Flusterstorm, they might be able to get out of it, but they can't draw extra cards this turn anyway because of Hull Breacher, so they shouldn't be able to combo at least for a while. This makes them have Flusterstorm now, and then we get to untap and play Thought Monitor. Sweet. Alright, opponent has 1 card in hand. I think I won, because it's going to be hard for them to find any more Doomsdays. And I'm about to start drawing a bunch of cards. Heads! It won! Alright, Island. Grab Thought Monitor, cast Thought Monitor, costs 4 currently. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I didn't need to play the island there. Yeah, I didn't need to play the island there. Should have played Saga, oh well. I miscounted how much mana I had. Opponent plays Scalding Tarn. And passes. Cool, cool. They probably have a cantrip in their hand since they didn't have a counterspell. Heads wins again. Mox Jet. I'll go ahead and play you. Emery gets Thought Monitor. Cast Thought Monitor for 1. Hooray. Draw 2 cards. That's busted. Play Saga. Play Key. Hold Ruby in hand. No reason to run it out. Attack for 5. Opponent fetches. Gets an Underground Sea and gets hit. And we pass. Wow, this hand turned out to be very broken. That is probably the best 5 that I've seen in Vintage so far. Turn 1 Emery Time Walk into Hold Breacher against the deck that specifically plays a bunch of cantrips. Sweet. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, round 5. We lost the die roll this time. This hand... If it had like one more mana source, I would keep it. It has Force, so that's going for it, but I can't play Flusterstorm or Recall unless I draw exactly a blue source, and there's not really that many of them, so I'm going to mulligan. Opponent is on the play and kept 7. I'm not going to go to 5 just for a Force of Will, so I'm going to keep this, and I think I'm going to get rid of probably Urza, because it's most likely the hardest thing to get to out of my hand. Yeah, I think that's the plan. And we'll see what we're up against. Opponent plays Get Probe. They see that our hand does not have action, really. They know about Flusterstorm now, which is a little bit annoying. But we'll see if that winds up mattering and to what degree it does. Get Probe means pretty much any blue deck. I don't think any of the regular blue decks don't play that. One plays Mox Emerald. Deathrite Shaman. Looks like Sultai. One plays Floated Strand. Could still be like some other type of fair deck, but we'll see. It's not the Lutri deck, we know that much. Do I want to lead on Saga? I don't think so. I think I probably want the constructs here. Let's go Bauble. Look at my opponent's hand and cantrip with it. Drawing Sphinx of the Steel Wind is really just not what we wanted there. Verdant Catacombs in our opponent's hand, so they have at least one more land. Cannot hit artifacts, can only hit instant sorceries and creatures, and lands, of course. So if I Emery on a non-creature artifact, they can't Deathrite Shaman in response. I found a basic island, that's good. That means I can make Karn... Do people still call them Constructs when it's out of Urza Saga? I guess it's just regular Constructs, because Constructs are from Karn Scion of Urza. I always think of them as Constructs, though. Opponent plays their Verdant. It does look like they're playing the Sultai deck. We might get Okoed here. That'll make Seed of the Synod feel silly. Merchant Scroll, okay. Whatever they get with that, I can still Flusterstorm, so I'm not really worried about Flusterstorming the Merchant Scroll. They haven't played a Wasteland, that's good. They could still have one in hand that they're sandbagging for when I play Saga, since they know about it. They grab Recall, makes sense. Gonna plan on flustering that if I have the option. We draw another seat. Let's go Saga. Please no Wasteland. If they want to dedicate most of their mana next turn to drawing 3 cards, I wouldn't mind that bad, and if they wait too long, I can Hull Breacher in response. There's a decent chance they have a Force of Will in their hand, since they're just playing that kind of deck. Does BUG usually play Merchant Scroll? I'm not sure. That's going to eat a card. Opponent gushes. 2, 3. I think that's fine. Eats their Merchant Scroll. Okie dokie. So they could still Oko this turn, just by playing a land and getting a mana with Deathrite Shaman. But they did pick up 2 lands for relatively little value, since they already have extra draw in their hand. I'm not super familiar with the fair deck type of lists in Vintage, so I'm not actually sure what to be looking out for. Opponent recall, storm count is 1. I can't really counter that. So let's let it resolve. Sapphire, storm count 2. I feel like Flusterstorm is going to be best used on a Force of Will, but realistically, they're just going to be able to play around it mostly. Alright, they didn't have a Wasteland to stop us from getting Constructs, so that's nice at least. Do they have a Force of Figure? Perhaps? They do. That's a pain in the ass. I can Fluster, that doesn't counter it. Alright. Jesus Christ. That's bad. And they did have Oko, they exiled one. Mana Crypt is a good draw. Let's play Mana Crypt. Pass. I'm going to plan on playing Hull Breacher on their turn, most likely. I'd like to do it in response to a draw spell, but they already know about it, so that's relatively unlikely. Maybe it's best to wait for Hull Breacher once I have Flusterstorm up too. I guess we'll see what they play. I'll place Treasure Cruise. They probably have a Force, but I think I want to draw it out of them. Yeah, they have a Force of Will. They exiled another Force of Will, so they're going to have 5 cards in hand. Do they follow up with an Oko? That's the nightmare scenario for sure. Having another Seed of the Synod in our hand means we're not actually that far away from casting Thought Monitor, although we can't play it quite next turn, unless we draw some free artifacts. Lost the flip as always. That's a free artifact. Let's play Opal. Maybe Thought Monitor can get us back in this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Leave open Island for Flusterstorm. Through a Wasteland. Draw 2. Force of Will and Recall. Do I recall now because I have the Force of Will back up, or do I wait to keep Flusterstorm up? I think I wait. Because I wouldn't have any more open mana this turn anyway, so it's not really like I'm going to start comboing off or something with the recall. So I think I might as well just wait on that. Because I think the scenario that I'm playing to now is they go for like an Oko on their turn, I force it, and then I can use Flusterstorm to make sure that we fight through... Yeah, there's the Wasteland that I was playing around. We can use Flusterstorm to fight against counter magic, because Oko is a nightmare. At least with this slow of a setup that I have currently. Looks like that's an Oko, probably. It's 3 mana. It seems to be those colors. They're not wastelanding my Seat of the Synod. Force of Vigor. Greedy, greedy opponent. I'm not going to recall myself. I want to keep Flusterstorm up. I'm going to force their force. Because then that gets Storm count up enough that I can fight with Flusterstorm. Yeah, I think that's correct. Get rid of Sphinx, because I'm not going to cast that anytime soon. Opponent does not fight over it. Yeah, because if I had Flusterstormed there, the Storm count would have only been 2. Deathrite Shaman, and they would have just been able to pay for it by tapping Deathrite Shaman and exiling our Seat of the Synod or Urza Saga. Because they don't have any mana current, well, I guess Recall is important enough that I would like to fight over it with Flusterstorm, so I'm going to wait in case they have their own Flusterstorm. Because I think that's relatively likely. Always losing the flip. We draw Soul Ring, that's nice. Cast Soul Ring, see if they want to counter it for whatever reason. Recall me with my wastelandable land. Okay. That is significantly better. We can't play Narset and keep up Flusterstorm, but we do have Narset and Force of Will now. So I think I want to go for the Narset. Especially because that uses my floating mana. And it cuts off their brainstorms and whatnot. Time Walk, Thoughtcast, Mox Opal. I'm actually not sure about that. Time Walk doesn't do as much as I would like it to on the current board. And they would know about it, worst of all. So maybe I just go Thoughtcast and have more card draw. It feels a little goofy to not take the Power 9 piece, but I think that's correct because I'm already going to be passing the turn since I don't have blue here. So I'm going to get to activate Narset anyway. Yeah, let's get Thoughtcast. Bobble you. I would like a card in hand. Oh, fuck, they have an oof. Okay. I'm going to leave Monitor back to protect Narset. And we're going to see if they have a counterspell for this Force of Will, because I'm going to need to force Collector Oof, and I'm probably going to have to use Flusterstorm to do it. Second Force of Will makes that a lot easier, actually. But we can't let Oof hit play. I think I'm going to get rid of Flusterstorm first, because they know about it, so they've already been playing around it, and it's kind of late enough, and they're not playing a combo deck, so like Flusterstorm just isn't at its best here. So it taps 3. They're again not wastelanding our Seat of the Synod. Oko. If they play Oof, they have to have exactly blue card Force of Will in their hand. Or Flusterstorm. I think I'm willing to gamble on that to not have an Oko come down. Let's get rid of Flusterstorm, force that. They know that we know that they know that we know about Oof. So let's see. I'm okay with them doing that. I would rather them protect Oko than protect Collector Oof from coming down. I think. Oko can elk one of my mana sources, but I have a lot of mana sources, so it's kind of okay where Oof would cut them all off. So unless they have another Flusterstorm exactly, it hopefully won't matter. They're targeting their Emerald so they can threaten Narset, it looks like. Okay. I will block with Thought Monitor. And I think I just need to combo off now, essentially. Easier said than done, sure, especially at 9 life, but I guess we'll see if we can get there. Opponent's going to go for Collector Oof here. They're not going to have the cards in hand to possibly have another Force of Will. We're not going to have our Thought Cast anymore, unfortunately, but we're going to have a draw for turn and a look-see with Narset. Surprise second Force of Will. I untap, and I probably lose Mana Crypt. Yep. Because I always do. I'm minus with Narset. We have to get something good. Flusterstorm, Get Probe, Thoughtcast, Mox Ruby. I don't care about Get Probe. I don't care about Flusterstorm. I have to get Thoughtcast to try to continue going off here. Cast the Thoughtcast. Maybe Top can get me there. I get to look at some more cards with it at least, but I have a lot of mana and not a lot to do with it currently, unfortunately. And our opponent has lethal. What do we have with Top? Nothing good. Okay. Okay. What do I want? I think I might shave on Flusterstorms. I definitely want Mystic Dispute. I definitely want Dismembers. I probably want Needles for Wasteland and Oko. I don't think I care about Karn. I definitely don't care about Hercule's Recall. Urza's fantastic in this matchup because it gives us mana from our artifacts through Collector Oof. Sphinx of the Steel Wind is also great. Let's trim down on a couple of baubles. Probably a couple of Thoughtcasts because they're a Flusterstorm deck. And then I think I want to keep Citadel in so I can try to go off with it in case that becomes an option. And I think I go down like 2 Flusterstorms since they're not a combo deck, and basically my Flusterstorms are just to protect my stuff from their counters, which is not the most ideal role of Flusterstorm, but we're bringing in Disputes, so it's fine. I like Narset and Hullbreacher here since they're playing a blue deck. Yeah, I think that's fine. We'll see what we can do. If they play Oof, we can still get mana from our islands, Urza's Saga, and perhaps most importantly, Tolarian Academy. If we can protect Tolarian Academy and get it into play and whatnot, that's a great source of mana, even if they get a Collector Oof to resolve. Pithing Needle targets are Wasteland, Oko, and probably Beseiju. Because Beseiju is what can deal with our Sphinx of the Steel Wind. I don't think any of their other cards will be able to. Yes, I will take the play. There's the Tolarian Academy, and 2 pieces of power, and Counterspell backup, and a Needle. Okay. Snap Keep. So what does this hand do? I play Ruby, Academy, Lotus, so I have blue mana up already. I tap Ruby, play Needle, and then probably play some amount of Emery and or Thought Monitor, depending. Play Ruby. Play Academy. Play Lotus. Needle. Do they have a misstep? No. Wasteland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't quite have enough to where I can play Thought Monitor before having to crack Black Lotus. Because I have Emery, it makes cracking Lotus make a bit more sense, though. But also, if I tap both Academy and Lotus, I can't hold up Dispute anymore. So let's just play Emery, I think, here. And then I can get Burst Mana next turn, possibly. If I play Dispute to protect Emery, opponent plays a Force. Yeah, I'm going to protect Emery, and that means I'm going to crack Lotus to play Thought Monitor here. Because I think that'll make us ahead enough that it doesn't matter anymore. They would have to have a pretty busted start to contend with that. We didn't really get much action. We got a Mox Emerald and milled some Sagas, which isn't great. But we can get Black Lotus back, I guess. And we get to draw a couple cards with Monitor. Narset and Time Vault. Okay. Pass. How busted of a start can our opponent have? We have 4 mana, 5, 6, 7, 8 with Black Lotus. Okay, they have an Emerald. They have a Deathrite Shaman. Not busted yet. Deathrite Shaman's like hardly even standard playable if it's RTR season. We draw an island. Okay. Let's activate Emery, target Black Lotus, cast Black Lotus, play an island, play a Time Vault, play a Narset. Opponent has no counterspells, minus Narset. We see Dismember, Sphinx, Thought Monitor. We'll take Dismember. I don't want to do that on Deathrite Shaman immediately. I'd rather hold it for Oof, since they don't have counters anyway. And, okay, opponent concedes. Sweet, easy peasy. Insane start. Very insane start. Alright. Now let's just do that again. Easy enough, right? Oh my god, I had a, against kind of a similar deck, I had a start earlier today. I actually took a picture of my opening hand and put it on Twitter, where it was just power and a shit ton of draw. I didn't have any counterspell backup, so I was risking that, but my opponent didn't have any counterspells because one of the, actually the first card that I played was Gataxian Probe. And then, yeah, it was exactly against Sultai because I remember I drew a bunch of cards, I played a Tinker on turn 1, I realized that I had sided out Bolus's Citadel, and I was sad about that, so I went and got Sphinx of the Steel Wind and just eventually had to kill them with a little bit of Sphinx beats and then a lot of bit of Construct beats after I drew Urza Saga. But yeah, that was a really goofy game. Vintage has been a really interesting experience because there's a lot more interactive matchups and games that go long than you would think as an outsider there would be. But there's also just games like we just had where you just have a nut draw and your opponent can interact, but it doesn't really matter. It's like the best of both worlds. You can do the really busted things, but only some of the time. I don't like that they know about Dismember. So they know that we have at least that out to oof. They don't know about... No, they do know about Sphinx of the Steel Wind because I forced with it in game 1. That's a little annoying too. Alright, we have Pearl, Mana Crypt, Seat, Thought Monitor, and a bunch of lands. This hand would be good as a 5, but on 7 I don't think it's worth it because my opponent just forces our Thought Monitor and then we don't have anything going on again, and then they play Oof. So let's mulligan. Okay. Urza Saga on relatively quickly, we have power, we have Manifold Key, we can get probe them, and we have at least a Force, maybe also a Flusterstorm if we find real blue mana. Let's get rid of, I think, Key. Because we can find Key with Saga. if we need to. Probably going to find blue mana with Saga, though, at least with the current setup. Alright, let's do it like that. Plays Emerald. Plays Volcanic Island, plays Oof. Please don't have a force. They didn't have a force. Fantastic. We draw Mystic Dispute. Let's see what they have in their hand. Deathrite Shaman, Fatal Push, Brainstorm, Narset. Okay, they don't have Force of Vigor. That's the main thing I was concerned about. I'm going to go ahead and play these out, so they don't get countered next turn, possibly. We drew an Urza, which isn't doing anything yet since we don't have any blue mana, but could do something eventually, I guess. It gets us out of an Oof if our opponent finds another one. And we have the mana to play it somehow. Opponent Brainstorms, so that's away. Let me get that out of the way. Opponent having a Narset could be annoying. They need to find more mana, though. There aren't any lands in the graveyard for Shaman until our Saga implodes. Opponent finds a Wasteland. God damn it. Alright. So we need to find action again. Solarian Academy would be the nuts because it casts our Urza for us. Then plays Shaman. Okay. I don't know why they have Fatal Push in their deck. Just for constructs? Alright, I feel silly for having played Mana Crypt out. Because now it's just going to deal 3 damage to me every turn. Alright, come on. Good top decks. Opponent's going to play Narset here. So that's going to turn off our Thought Monitor. And it might find them a force. There's a decent chance. Finds them a Mox Jet. Okay. They have 3 cards in hand. We know of a Fatal Push. We didn't take 3 that time. Hooray. Alright. We drew a Saga. That's a decent draw, as long as they don't wasteland it immediately, which they could. Because they brainstormed, and then they Narsetted to get rid of the things they didn't want. Or the thing that they didn't want, I guess, because there was a turn in between. Opponent Narsets again. Getting another Fatal Push. Okay. I mean, I guess they can kill our constructs with that, but that seems a lot worse than just having counter spells. Especially because Fatal Push doesn't hit Thought Monitor ever, and it has a really hard time hitting Urza. I think we win this game if we find our Tinker into Sphinx. Because we haven't seen Boseiju from them yet, and I don't know if they actually have it. They might have like a one of Boseiju or something. They probably don't have multiple since they're not a Wrenn and 6 deck. Tarmogoyf, okay. Glad that wasn't an oof. Tarmogoyf might still just beat the shit out of us, though. Which would be sad. I don't want to lose to Tarmogoyf in Vintage. That would make me pee my pants in anger. Alright, Mana Crypt, don't kill me, please, for the love of God. Alright. Hull Breacher, that doesn't do anything. Alright, we're passing again. We're going to get a Fatal Push out of their hand, I guess. With a Construct token. Opponent has 5 cards in hand. 2 of them are Fatal Pushes. And they can cast 2 Fatal Pushes because of Deathrite Shaman. We're going to take 4 to Tarmogoyf. Opponent plays a Time Walk. Shit. Alright, we can't do anything about that. We're just going to die to this Tarmogoyf, aren't we? Opponent eats a card with Deathrite Shaman, basically And now our opponent can hit us for 4, 5, 6. We're at 7, so we're already dead to a bad mana crypt, and we're extra dead if they get another card type in the graveyard. Damn, I'm ending this run by losing to a Tarmogoyf. Holy shit. That's a little unfortunate. Maybe I shouldn't be playing Hull Breacher against them since they don't have that many cantrips. But it still feels a little weird. Alright, I think I want to try to block the Deathrite Shaman at least. Okay. We have to not lose this Mana Crypt trigger and draw exactly Tinker here and have our opponent somehow not have a counter spell. Alright, Mana Crypt. Alright, Mana Crypt. We draw a top, which is not what we need. What can I draw? I think I have to still just try to get Tinker, right? Because I'm dead to Deathrite Shaman untapping now. And I'm extra dead to Tarmogoyf because they have another Fatal Push in their hand. So the construct doesn't do anything. I have to find exactly... Even if I find exactly Sphinx, I die to the Deathrite Shaman. That's really annoying. Alright, I mean, I'm going to get a blue source, so Mox Saph... well, Black Lotus. And I'm going to see what we find off of top. No reason not to. Might as well try for it, right? Spin top. Thought Monitor, Seat of the Synod, Island. I don't think I can chain Thought Monitors together. Maybe I can. Island, Monitor, Seat. What can I do here? Thought Monitor costs 3. Cast Thought Monitor. I don't draw 2 because of Narset, and I concede. Okay. Well, not the most exciting end to the run. I got to lose to a Tarmogoyf, which I guess is something that I hadn't done in Vintage before, so that's fun. And I'll see you in the next one. It was a lot of fun playing this. If you want to see more Vintage in the future, let me know. It was definitely fun to dip my toes. It'll probably be a little while before I do more Vintage content, just because these decks are relatively expensive because of the Force of Wills and stuff. And the Mythic Event token is the reason that I'm able to play this right now. Alright, and I'll see you in the future.
Hey everyone, Shoe Nice again. Well, basically, go subscribe to Tez's YouTube channel. And for those who made it to the end of the video, thank you.